Hello, we've reached episode 50. The year is 2021 and in so many ways, 2020 part 2. The pandemic picked up where it left off, not that it ever took a break or anything, with the second wave of the virus peaking over Christmas 2020 and into the new year. The UK declaring its third national lockdown on the 6th of January. So more schooling from home, social distancing, mask wearing, and general disruption of life as we had come to know it. School resumed in March, as I recall, although that was much disrupted by sporadic calls for Evan to isolate at home for a few days when positive cases were reported within his class or among friends. First vaccinations for my wife and I were in April, and in May, Michelle's mum finally went into a dedicated care home with her dementia, having progressed to a point where it was just no longer safe for her to continue living at home. Saying that, however, within the first few months of her stay in the care home, my mother-in-law fell and broke her hip, which was awful and very, very upsetting for Michelle. Her mum responded pretty well and recovered enough to regain her mobility, but it was a sign of things to come. The story of 2021, a slow lifting of pandemic measures over the summer. We all went to see Scritti Politti in September, and my son's first ever gig. And whilst they were excellent, Green's still in great voice, and it was good to be out for an evening, we did all feel a bit nervous. And that sums the year up, I guess. A slow return to normal, with normal not quite feeling the same as it used to. Music then, and like 2020, not a lot of it. I have one worth mentioning, and one that, quite frankly, blew everything else out of the water. So first, here are the Nearly Men. That's Shame with Drunk Tank Pink. One of those post-punk influence bands from the British Isles that came to prominence in the mid to late teens of the 21st century. Think Idols, Fontaines DC, Gilla Band, Savages, Squid, Black Midi, that kind of thing. And Shame, I think, work because they square up that vaguely oi-tinged punk thing that Idols specialise in with some of the twitchier elements of an American post-hardcore sound. They clearly have a few Fugazi records in their collection, shall we say, which is no bad thing. And when they work in some scratchier punk funk elements, throwing in some Afro-pop indebted licks along the way, as they do on Drunk Tank Pink, they deserve some respect. I'd like this one a little more than their debut and the 2023 follow-up to this album, which is Food for Worms. There were a few missteps on that final album for me, making this one the sweet spot and hopefully the template for future records from Shame. So, onto my significant record for 2021. It's very easy doing this kind of thing to fall into that list maker's mindset and allow previous picks to sway your choices. The urge to do just that was strong for this year. I had to re-listen and remind myself of how I felt when I heard this at the time, because that is what this series is all about. So, curation be damned, because it's 2021, and why the hell should 2015 or 2018 have any bearing on that whatsoever? Don't look so surprised. Is Low, and Hey What. Making Low the only act to win out 3 times in this series. A fair reflection, I think, on quite how much their music has meant to me over the years. 2015 was ones and sixes, 2018 double negative, and mentions along the way for Drums and Guns, The Great Destroyer, Things We Lost in the Fire, and The Curtain Hits the Cast. And as much as it's all too easy to look at what's come before when assembling a series like this one, it's also difficult not to over-contextualise what happened following Hey What, and read things into it that just aren't there. This album was recorded over various sessions during the 2020 pandemic year, and Mimi didn't get her cancer diagnosis until December of that same year. It's almost too easy to listen to Hey What and hear nothing but foreshadowing. The goosebumps that surface when Alan and Mimi's voices can join and reflect and respond to one another feels impossibly final and significant. Still a record that has to be taken in small, careful doses some 2 years after Mimi's death. Hey What is Low's first album recorded as a pure duo, and their third with producer BJ Burton, building on the jaw-dropping sonic experimentation of 2018's Double Negative, not by pushing the dials further into the red, but by pulling back. Alan and Mimi's vocals are left dry and present, unadorned, whilst the hefty brick-walled digital distortion rages around them. If the shocking acid bath treatment given to Double Negative was too much for you, then Hey What is a compromise you will enjoy. Artfully etched rather than brutally corroded. But lyrically, again, an album reeling from the twin concussive hits of Democratic Meltdown and Pandemic Isolation, but pulled to its feet and steadied, finding hope and solace in the support we find from those at our side. Solutions, no, but acceptance and the consolation of knowing you're not alone. It's an album you don't want to try and tease apart too much, connected as the tracks are by a mixture of sample and hold playfulness and almost jump scare volume tricks. The resonant maelstrom of opener White Horses resolves into a repeat percussion tremolo riff. Spaceman 3 fans, take note. Its close accelerating into the blurring pulse beat of the frankly transcendent I Can Wait. If I could trade, I could trade, I would trade, I would trade, I would trade. I would give you a break, help you carry the weight. What sounds at first like a kind of lyrical or thematic twist on Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill, a song about love and sacrifice within a relationship, reveals itself to be working on a much higher societal level. The power structures within the wider world, those who have, those with privilege, and those who have to navigate an entirely different set of problems, whose choices are limited by seemingly inalterable rules and prejudices. It's a wonderfully fleet-footed song that addresses big issues without a trace of leaden bombast or clumsy sloganeering. The one two of All Night and Disappearing morphs from a washy grandeur, triumphant synth lines peeking through like fanfares, into a rising, pounding mantra of fierce, gritty, MBV guitar textures, angelic voices sanding back the splintering square waves that bear them aloft. I'll skip over the sort of title track, Hey, because I just can't talk about it without welling up, and onto days like these. Strident vocals opening the song up like some lost, folky protest classic, something to be sung in the face of police lines or outside the walls of an embassy somewhere, only for it to climax and fade away into minutes of meditative, soothing bliss, sporting some choice synth tones that wouldn't sound out of place in Toto's Africa. The way the music on this record rides the emotions and changes gears is really something to behold. The unbearably tough tenderness of Don't Walk Away, hard cutting into the taunting, foiled nursery rhyme of More, prefacing the thumping death disco blowtorching of The Price You Pay, It Must Be Wearing Off. The juggling and offsetting of noise and harmony on this record has very few precedents, I think, with the only one that really works for me being My Bloody Valentine. But where Kevin Shields layered and layered, slowly accreting texture in increments, here Sparhawk, Parker and Burton assemble and arrange with a hard-nosed, instinctive precision. It took me a while to revisit Hey What and get to grips with it again. There are so many emotions tied up with it that I'm kind of scared of trying to pick at it too hard. So I won't. It's the end of a long journey, and this is my baggage. I got this. 2021, another pandemic year, and Low's final record. A very beautiful record that's just quite a hard listen for me. What might your record of 2021 be? Let's talk about it down below. And the end of the video. Yeah, thanks for getting this far. Please think about giving it a like if you've enjoyed it, and why not subscribe if you haven't done so already. Okay, I will leave you there. Please do take care, and I hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Bye for now.